Welcome, everyone. This is Danny Smith with Wild Seed, the podcast. Today, I'm here with April King Goode. She is the Operations Director and Facilitator for Unified Outreach nonprofit. April is a committed diversion volunteer facilitator. She received her degree in culinary arts and restaurant management before transitioning to service-based work. Thank you, April, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
What does your position at Unified Outreach entail?
I guess you have to pick one. As far as diversion goes, I'm technically a volunteer facilitator. So we are with the 25 to 35-year-old group, waiting for one day to somebody drop a nugget for us and let me have the kids. I want the kids. But we work with the prosecuting attorney. It was Anne, and now Maria is taking over. She's really just a neat lady, and it's nice working with them. But we basically are helping people that are dealing with misdemeanor charges, and it's their first charge. Keep in mind, we're not dealing with somebody that's done this before.
Yeah.
And we don't deal as much with the drug and alcohol or substance abuse, any of that. We deal with kind of straightforward one. And then as far as the youth go, we started out years ago doing work readiness. And that's not as useful anymore. It's not really how it...
Work readiness?
Yeah, doing resume writing and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are still important things, but now we're doing it online. Back in
exactly.
2012, I think. Well, I don't even want to talk about how old I am. So it reminds me that my kids were little, but we would do, those classes, and slowly they've evolved. So now we do stuff through behavioral health, which... So behavioral health, we have funding through them, and we do teen mental health as well as we do refusal skills. And we work with... Still work readiness, work preparedness, I guess would be more the case now, because we work with, they say underserved, and I guess they are underserved, but I don't so much like a lot of the terms that are used. I actually, like I told you, I was in West Seattle myself as a kid, and I was one of those kids, and I don't want to say I was underserved. I think that the community tried. Financial. It's the way of life.
Right.
Some people are better off than others, and it wasn't that I was underserved by my community. My community really, really did a lot of change in my life, but they can only do what they can do with what's available.
Exactly.
So it's the money. It's all about money.
So what term would you use if you were describing these kids that you work with? If you're not going to use that term,
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's funny. I've been asked that because I write grants sometimes too. And I've been asked that, well, what would you call them? And I just say kids. Kids are kids, man. It doesn't, wealthy kids have just as many issues as kids like myself that were like, living on ramen.
Yeah.
So, mayonnaise sandwiches, but there's still drugs. There's still peer pressure. There's gangs are everywhere. There's still, theft.
Yeah.
All these things are still, everything. There's abusive parents in both ends. There's great parents in both ends. Domestic violence, everywhere, especially in teens. People have no idea the domestic violence that goes on in high schools and kids that aren't even in school that are young. So, I don't know. I in all honesty, I just call them kids. Like, they're just kids.
So I don't really know a lot about Unified Outreach. I have looked them up, but can you give me like a little background about who they are, what do they stand for?
Ed Dumas, who is actually the owner of Unified Outreach, as well as he owns the magazine, Vibrant Magazine, that the Outreach owns. For me, the outreach goes beyond me. The guys are a little bit older, and they started the outreach before me. I came in back in 2004. I was friends with Ed, and he had asked me if I would do some fundraising. So the outreach, I started raising funds for him, and I've always gone back and forth because at that time I was a single mom of 3. I ended up getting married and moved out. My husband was stationed at Fort Lewis, so I moved out to Tacoma, and I would come back and we would do the work readiness. That's what it was called back then, and the city funded those programs, and it was so cool. We used to do fashion shows, we did talent shows. Because of me being a chef, so I get to do cooking things with the kids. We cater any events ourselves. We've never paid, so we'd always, we could cater an event for 200 people with $200. You know what I mean? The things you can do when you're in the kitchen doing it yourself, right?
Exactly.
So, my contribution was that for years. We always did the work readiness, and that's my baby because of my background, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, but my background with Southwest. Most of those programs, those kids came from, I think it was Consejo is what it was called, and Southwest Youth and Family Services. And then SYVPI, which is no longer, but SYVPI was a huge part of how we were able to do those programs. I'm so sad that they're gone, but And then my husband had got out of the military, and he was a cook in the Army. So
When was this?
2012 or 14. We went ahead and moved because that was what was best for our family. Obviously, I was devastated. My heart has always been here. And then I would come back every summer, and I would bring my daughter, who now is 16 but was in the first grade. We would come back third grade, different years. We would come back over the summers and do the work readiness programs, and I would spend all summer here. Yeah, staying at friends, Carlicia Minnis, Mac Fashion House. So I used to stay at Carlicia's house in her kids' room, where Carlicia had me in the bed and in her son's bedroom. Yeah. But she's a huge part of Unified Outreach too, by the way. She's always contributed so much. And yeah, she's just an amazing woman. But I've been doing work readiness since then. I don't think I'm doing anything right now more important than the behavioral health side, because I think behavioral health is what's the core of drug abuse, domestic violence. Yeah. Not, families not being able to hold it together or stay together. There's so much of everything comes from the basic being healthy.
What do you enjoy the most about your position?
Kids.
The kids. Yeah.
So literally the other night we were at Bolero, and there was a kid just staring at us, and my daughter Isis, who now works for the programs as well, and she's like, Mom, like, why is that guy looking at us? And he looks over, and he comes over, and he was like, Miss April. But I've known this kid since he was like 14. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's the kids. It's them coming back, and it's the seeing the growth. I just want them to know that they're loved. I'm here when they're 20. I'm here when they're 12. I'm here when they're 35. If I can help you, if you need something, I'm here. We didn't get a center until I think it was like 2010, 2011. Okay. That we got the center, and then we were able to start doing bigger stuff with like for arts and for culture. Yeah. And the city and different, it was a whole different ballgame once we had a center. But no, diversion just started when I came back.
Ed Dumas, he's the owner of everything. Okay. Unified Outreach and Vibrant Magazine. Which you recently started working for Vibrant Magazine as well when you came back here. Is that like?
It's really cool. So Vibrant Magazine, when I was in Vegas, it's a free publication. And of course with free publication, who's paying to create that, right? So we've had a little bit of a hang up that we're printing, everything for free. So I'm going to go ahead and probably start taking on some advertising too. Back in the day, I used to do advertising for Little Nickel and Sound Publishing. But Vibrant Magazine is all arts and entertainment. It was another magazine prior to. They bought it from them.
Do you enjoy writing? What do you do for the...
There is no greater lesson or education than new people. I say that, I didn't have a great education. I told you that, I got a GED from Southwest Youth and Family Services, who are amazing. But in doing that, I didn't go to college till I was 30. I still only have an AA. Yes, I am going back for my degree in social work because I'm being harassed. But I don't always know that it's necessary for what I do, because my work with the kids, I think a lot of times these kids relate to me. At first they look at me, they're like, yeah, right, lady. And then we start talking about the old High Point. And they're like, wait, what do you know about the old High Point? I'm like, oh, you have no idea, kid. Or we'll talk about the CD, and I'll talk about like Sammy's Burgers, or we live next door to Rogers, which is now, I don't even know, Red Apple or something. Oh, no, actually I think it's like a Rainbow or something. So I think once I can talk to the kids and I actually am from here. They hear Vegas, so they don't relate to me really at all. And then they're looking at my platinum blonde hair, and they're like, yeah, right, lady. It's fun going in like that, because then they're like, what do you know? Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I know. So in the magazine, I wanted to hit it from a different angle. I wanted to go places that I will go. Yeah. I wanted to talk to the people that I know from years of living here before, people that I've kept in contact with, and I want to know what y'all are doing, and I want to go to these things, and I have daughters, and I want my daughters to be active in their community. Right. And I think Vegas didn't have a whole lot of community, and they sure don't have a lot of culture. There's like areas, pockets of cultural events. Yeah. And maybe twice a year.
So would you consider yourself artistically inclined? Other than art, like in terms of food, cooking, the culinary arts?
I think that I appreciate art more than anything. Okay. I think that I find beauty in a lot of random things. People included. Yeah. I respect that. Yeah. I think that, I'm not a great, I don't do pottery, and I don't paint, and I don't make music, and outside of church I don't sing, or maybe in the shower. Yeah. You know what I mean? I love to dance. I love to go out and get dressed up, but I love clothes. Yeah. But there's such an art to those things. Yeah. And I look at someone, specifically like Carlicia, and I think, how did you just come up with that? But man, she came up with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I put it on and I'm like, hey, I'm a whole new person. So, I think, again, I just appreciate beauty to look at, whatever it may be, because there's beauty in just about everything. But I think beauty in people to me is probably my greatest life experience. I love people.
Okay, so I just want to switch gears and talk about your culinary education.
Okay.
So you have a degree in culinary arts, and what inspired you to obtain that degree?
So I've been cooking my whole life. My mama didn't cook. She hears this, she's going to kill me, but not really, because she didn't. I learned to cook kind of for myself because I like to cook. And then my first husband, my mother-in-law, was phenomenal, and my auntie. And I learned a whole different kind of food. Yeah. and it was really neat. So, I've always, I always cooked, I had children and I had a husband at a very young age. Again, I had 3 kids at 21 and we had other children live with us throughout the years. So I cooked every day, always, even when I'd go to work and I would come home and cook. No one else ever cooked. When I started culinary school, that was never an intent. It was never something I wanted to do. I'm always the one. I cook Sunday dinner. I used to cook Sunday dinner before culinary school every Sunday. But my grandmother, too, as I grew up, she lived in Birch Bay. And I remember a lot of times we would be sent to her house as kids. Life was crazy as a kid. And we would always, you get sent to your grandma's, right? Yeah. Well, my grandmother owned a restaurant called Granny's Deli out in Birch Bay. And my greatest memory is she used to sit me down in the same restaurant. She used to sit me down and she would make dough. Just, the flour and water and salt. And I would sit down there and just play all day long on the floor because she was, she had to work. She had to run a restaurant. And I remember, too, that she used to let me go it was a lot of men. And I think they were fishermen, maybe. I don't really quite remember who they were or why. I'm assuming because of where it was. But she used to let me go out there and serve them their food or get their dirty dishes. And they used to give me a little nickel here and a quarter there. And I thought I was rich. I thought I was doing big things. And, so I think really, she played a real large role in who I am as a woman, I think.
What's one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
I think I would tell myself that the things that happened weren't my fault. I think I spent a lot of time allowing others to abuse me mentally and physically because they knew the things that had happened to me, so it was used against me. And I actually do a lot of talking to teens about domestic violence because I was a teen, and he went to prison for what he did. And I think that I wasn't in high school, and actually I was part of the time, but he wasn't. And I think that my mother was dealing with her life and the things that she was going through, and she was nowhere around. And I had no one to go to and no one to tell, no one to save me, no one to he was it. I would tell myself maybe to keep some things to myself and not allow people to make me feel less than who I am.
Right.
Because I really did.
Do you remind yourself that now?
Always.
Okay.
Oh. And I still struggle with it. I think, everybody has weakness, right? And I think it's acknowledging it. It's that you have to acknowledge it first, being funny, but you really do. You have to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And I, if you can even look at my Facebook. If you look at my Facebook, my family is beautiful. I am so blessed. Don't get me wrong. But you will never see a photo on there that looks like anything's wrong. You will see us in matching dresses, matching suits, hair done, nails done. But I think I protected my home almost to an extent that it damaged my family and my life. It caused more harm, I think. My daughter was going through mental illness. No one knew.
Yeah.
I hid it from my pastor for a while at that point.
Yeah.
My husband dealing with his mental health issues. His own father didn't know. Almost to a fault that I worried too much about what everyone thought. And looking back, and I think, how much time did I put into appearances? How much money did I waste as a poor, single, young mother on matching dresses to wear to church when they could have just wore whatever they had? I wasted a lot of life on appearance, and I'm not willing to do that anymore.
So what do you do to practice self-care? You said all these things, and I want to know, how do you take care of yourself? How do you pour into your cup? You pour into a lot of other people's cups. I have to start with, I think pouring into other people's cups is helpful to me. I think that does something for me as well. That was said to me at one point kind of as a rude comment that, do you do things for people because you do them for them or you doing them for yourself?
I think maybe some of both. Again, for me, giving to other people is a big thing. I do go to the gym. I've lost quite a bit of weight. I have lupus. And I just, that just happened a few years ago that I found out I had lupus. So, you know, trying to stay off medication comes with eating right, comes with going to the gym. So those type of self-care things I do. You know, at this point, I told you I'm going through a divorce. We've been married, this is 17 years, so in August will be 18 years. So I'm struggling with self-care right now for myself. I think I pour into other people right now, especially more because it's easier to avoid dealing. I'm not in a place where I'm unhappy that I'm divorcing. You know, we just grew apart. It just was at a place where we couldn't make it work. You know, and everyone's like, oh, did you do counseling? All these, of course we did. We did everything. And I think there just comes a point where sometimes it's just the end. I'm always somebody's mom. I'm always somebody's wife. You know, I'm somebody's friend. I'm somebody's employee. I'm somebody's teacher. I really don't know who I am when I'm not somebody else's something. This is that time. You know, I'm 45. Still fairly young. You know, especially young for 27-year-old daughter. Yeah, I know. And a grandson. I have a 2-year-old grandson.
Yeah.
But you know, there's still so much life for me to see. You know, I've never been on vacations, and I've never, you know, any traveling I ever did was because we just got moved around. Yeah. Like I've been to Disneyland once, I've been to Hawaii once, and that's it. Like I've never really experienced life, and I think that's because my life was just being somebody's mom and somebody's wife. So I want to know what it's like to be me. I want to know, you know, what do I like to do other than go buy matching dresses? I don't even know. Yeah. I literally don't know. And I know that, so I can cook. I can throw down undoubtedly. And you know, I think that even when I go in the kitchen now and I'll go cook, you know, for the girls, and I'm like, why am I don't want to be in here. When I got that degree, I don't think we even finished that. When I got that degree not because I wanted it, but because my husband was a cook in the Army and he was getting ready to get out. So I went and got a degree in culinary arts so I could run a business for my husband. It wasn't for me. I wanted to do hair. I look back and I'm like, you know, what do I do for me? Working for the outreach is for me. These kids are for me. Yeah. Because when I look at them, I see me. I see somebody that just needs somebody to say, you're going to be all right and let's figure this out. Somebody to help me figure out how I'm going to eat tomorrow if I come up here. How am I going to get bus money to get up here? Thing that I think I had mentioned to you in the little bio, but his name was Aaron Counts. But I will never fangirl over anyone. That's just not my personality. But let me tell you, when I saw him once, and I looked over and I saw him, and literally tears. And he looked at me and I said, you don't remember me, do you? And he was like, I do. He helped me find a way out. He helped me to get stable. He really, I don't think he understands the impact, you know, that he must have had on others, because I know he literally was everything. He still is. He's everything to me. A good percent of the reason that I'm able to do the job that I do is because of that horrific childhood that I really did have. Because my brother was in and out of prison or in jail now because he's in prison, or because my ex-husband is where he is. And I think, you know, there's so much of me that makes who I am, but I spent so many years trying to be somebody different.
Okay, so what's next for you? What is something you're looking forward to taking on in 2024? You're already starting writing for a magazine and doing all that. So what's next? So
we're in the middle. We applied. So it had come up, and we applied for the juvenile hall. So the juvenile hall here used to be Raymond Hall back in the day. My older brother spent a good percent of his youth there. So it's not Raymond Hall anymore. Now it's another, you know, acronym. But so they have basically what we do for life skills and stuff. They have that program available. So we just applied for that. And I'm telling you, I have been on my knees praying, no exaggeration, because there is nothing I want more than to be in a juvenile hall. My first husband is in prison, and he will never come out. And we were young, and I think, where did it all go? Where did it go wrong? I don't want it to go wrong. And if I can be in there and just be the voice that the boys out here see me as. There's so many circumstances to so many things that happen, and I'm not here to judge you. That's not my job. My job is to be here and help you get it right.
Do you have any other upcoming events or things that people, if they want to get involved and they want to help the nonprofit. They want to be a part of the magazine.
So we are magazine-wise. If you want to be part of the magazine, they can just reach out to it's the April King Goode on Instagram, or Vibrant Arts Magazine. Instagram seems to be the easiest because I don't man any of the websites, but I'm the one doing most of the articles.
Yeah.
And then our publisher is now doing all the work. Don't get me wrong, he does the work. I don't do the work, but I do the work as far as the fun of going to the places.
Yeah.
If you come across anybody that likes to write, and a lot of times that can be high school or college age that just wants work. I have so many interviews that I've done that I'm trying to find the time for somebody to write up everything that I have written down or have recorded.
Okay.
Because of my job too. I have regular work as well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a writer of some sort, or a couple, kids, and I say kids because it helps them. They can put their name in the magazine and say, yeah, I wrote this. So that's the magazine. And as far as events, it's arts and entertainment. As far as the outreach goes, we always need help. We don't have a center anymore. Our needs are, to have people so we need like city contracts, but we also need, we're always looking for people that want to get involved and help teach classes or have art skills, because we do from fashion shows and talent shows and that stuff to, I've worked up at Beacon and we're teaching classes up there. I taught cooking to 3rd and 4th and 5th grade kids.
That's cute.
So so up at the international school, and so we do the programming. We do consulting, diversity consulting, which I think is a huge one.
Yeah.
When you're in the city, they need that.
Exactly.
And I think we're really diverse ourselves. There's a bunch of backgrounds and a bunch of upbringings. We're different, so we're good with that. So yeah.
Nice. Well, I'll add all those to the show notes so that people can use that as a resource. I'm glad that I met you by chance.
I know, right? Total accident.
And then kind of was like, oh, I need someone to interview, and you just came to mind.
Thanks.
So I'm glad that you're here and that we're doing this. So
thank you.
All right, y'all. Thank you for listening.
DIY.